Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast, and we are back. Also, the webcam's not on, is now on, so you can see me now. Yay! Before I begin our usual thing, yes, of course, we must have music. It is the sound of everything awesome. Um, anyways, so we got multiple topics, but before we talk about anything, I am joined back from his trip, from his vacation. Mr. Greg Dietz is with us today.
Hello. Oh God. Sorry, I'm playing Hyper Light Drifter. This just came out on Xbox, and it is hashtag fucking hard.
I would assume so. There's been also some games that came out recently on PS4 that are free for PSN subscriber, but they're all hard as well. But yeah, awesome stuff. So, now that Greg's back, I think the first thing I want to find out, and not to put you on the spot, Greg, but
Okay.
so there was a game that was announced last week, and this game, wow, it has been, I would say, not been in very good light for the last, I don't know, decade or so.
Okay.
The announcement of the new Sonic game, Sonic Mania, was announced at Comic Con last weekend, or maybe 2 weekends ago. And this game, from the what they showed, was basically classic Sonic the Hedgehog, like Genesis pixels and all, and it was done by a man named Taxman, who has done kind of modding of Sonic games before, and this is I think the first, so maybe the very next one for Taxman to make a game for Sega, and it looks damn good. But I want to know what your thoughts on Sonic Mania.
Um. hmm. It's a good question because I am not a giant fan of Sonic games. I think we've been over this before in the podcast. If not, I'll kind of go hash over it again real quick. I didn't grow up with a Genesis ever. The only not Genesis, sorry, Sega game, a Sega console ever. The only console that I ever owned from Sega was a Dreamcast, and um, uh, when when I was a kid, I went over to friends' houses and I played all of the Sonic the Hedgehog games on the old Genesis systems. And I had a friend who had a Saturn, and I had a friend who had a Sega CD, and so on and so forth. So I played on every single Genesis console, or Genesis. I keep saying Genesis. Every single Sega console. Um, but I've never truly liked any Sonic game, and I think the reason is because when you introduce a core mechanic of a game, Sonic's is going fast, and then you tell the player stop going fast. It's difficult to adjust to that. It's difficult to be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The whole purpose is to move quickly, but I have to do super hard platforming shit with a character that's running on ice. Um, Now I will say that the original Sonic games, Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles or whatever, they are the better Sonic games. Um, they've tried to harken back to those with like Sonic Rush, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, and then including a much more failed attempt, but the Sonic the Hedgehog, like I think 4 is what it was called. They did
Yeah,
part 1 and 2.
yeah.
And that was a travesty, from what I understand. Now, the funny thing about me is that, like I said, I didn't grow up with Sonic, so I don't have any nostalgia for Sonic. Um, but being a part of Half Empty Energy Tank, the two guys that basically run it, Brian and Hutch, are huge Sonic fans.
I think it was.
Like,
I was gonna put it real quick. I think it was funny because like I saw like when the streaming put that happened. I saw them on Twitter, or I forgot who was streaming, but it's like, sorry, I need to stop streaming right now. I need to watch this Sonic announcement, and I'll come
yeah,
back afterwards.
yeah, and that was Brian because he was playing Chrono Trigger, I believe. I could be wrong about the game he was playing. I believe it was Chrono Trigger though, and he was just like, Hutch is in the other room, like they're doing that big announcement, and he's just like, Hutch is just losing his mind. Brian's like, I gotta go, guys. I cannot keep playing this game when that's going on. I'll come back later tonight. So he hopped back on around like 10 hour time, which is an hour past our normal time, and he played for like 2 more hours and then stopped. Um, but talking to both him and Hutch individually about Sonic Mania and about why they're excited for it, it really does. It is all about nostalgia. Um,
Hmm.
and I could go into a long discussion about nostalgia. Actually, I'm going to. I'm going to say something about nostalgia real quick.
Go for it.
Now, I've said before, nostalgia is the dumbest thing on the planet because it forces people to have way too strong emotions for something that they enjoyed when they were younger. So I read an article recently that was all about why nostalgia is so important to us, why nostalgia is such a huge factor into our culture as millennials. Now, the term millennial is also, it's been used now as a negative connotation, which, whatever, fine. I'm not going to fucking argue it. So did Wi Fi, but Wi Fi is a dumb fucking phrase to begin with anyway. Um, so, our generation, Generation Y, we grew up in the richest generation in the 1900s, the absolute richest generation. We had a plethora of content, but we also grew up raised by the hippie generation. So a lot of what we were told in our cartoon shows and our children's shows and all sorts of stuff is that you're important. You can be anything you want if you put your mind to it. You want to be a famous writer, be a famous writer. You want to be a singer, be a singer. The reality is not that. The reality is you have to work very hard at what you want. You have to be very persistent. A lot of people don't know that. So that's why we have a lot of kids today that don't know how to handle the real world. But the other factor into that is that the real world hit us like a ton of bricks in 2001. You know what I'm referring to. And the economy started crashing. The world became darker. It was no longer our childhoods. It was no longer cartoons on Cartoon Network. It was no longer Dragon Ball Z. It was no longer, Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles. It was war and death and depression. And it sucked. And so our generation didn't learn to cope with things like that. We didn't learn to properly adjust to problems like that. And much like everybody else in every generation, we turn to escapism. You go to the 1800s. There was a lot of problems in the 1800s. What did people do to escape? They read a book or they play a game. The 1900s, same thing. Watch TV, read a book, play a game, something to that effect. But they understood that being an adult was just as important. Our generation didn't get that. Now, when I say our generation, I'm using that blanket statement because, of course, it's not everybody in our generation. That would be dumb to say. But these are the people who have gotten angry about, Ghostbusters or, Ninja Turtles or what the fuck ever. These are the same people that I'm talking about. And when we would go to escapism to get away from the bullshit of post millennium, or post 9/11 as it's called, it unfortunately took a front seat. Instead of being in the back seat, where it belongs, or even in the trunk for some people, it sat right next to us on this drive through life. And we held hands with it. And anytime anyone said anything bad about it, we'd get defensive. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be in the back seat, and somebody says something bad about it, you go, whatever. You move on. But instead, our generation took it a little bit too far. And this isn't necessarily our fault. It isn't necessarily Gen Y's fault. This is to blame on the generation before Gen X. Like my sister's part of Gen X. She was born in 75. Whereas I was born in 83. I'm right on the fucking cusp. Because 82 to 2004 is Gen Y. But yeah, she was part of Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
And her generation kind of hit that sweet spot where they were kind of raised by the hippie generation, but not really. They had both the post, like the baby boomer generation and the hippie generation in one. So they kind of got like a little bit of both, but not too much. And this article is really interesting because what it broke down is that the people's fault that it is that Gen Y is like this. the people's fault is um, the generation before Gen X, the hippie generation. It's their fault. Um, I love Jim Henson more than as much as the next guy, but to an extent, he taught us the wrong lessons. I love Mr. Rogers as much as the next guy, but he taught us the wrong lessons. And on the whole, when we talk about Sonic Mania, this isn't progress in the Sonic time. This isn't progress for Sonic. This is regressing. Now, I'm not saying that Sonic Mania is a bad thing. I'm really not. It's more power to people who want to play it. I think it's a great thing that people want to, play a classic Sonic game that's new. That's awesome. But this is not what Sonic should be doing. You look at Mario, and Mario has progressed constantly. Sure, there's a few regression games, but for the most part, he's progressed.
And I would argue about the thing though is like Sonic has never had a successful transition from 2D to 3D. There had been some games that out there that were really good, like Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, but those were handled by third-party companies. Sega internally has never made a good Sonic 3D game, and some people can argue, that the original Sonic games were not even good either. So,
well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that Sonic has tried to progress, but they just can't, because Sonic's core mechanics don't really work in a 3D setting. Is my point. Is ultimately what I'm getting at here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me 1 second. I think my phone rang. Hang on, I gotta disconnect from over here. My parents are out of the house, and I'm kind of worried about them, so they're disabled and all that jazz. So talk to the chat. I'll be right back.
All right, for sure. So yeah, those were Greg's thoughts on Sonic Mania. I'll probably get more of it when he comes back. But yeah, for me, Sonic, as like I said, Sonic has not transitioned into a better. They haven't transitioned pretty well from 2D to 3D, and welcome back. And the thing I think, I kind of wondered, if Sega. I kind of wondered, at some point, if Sega stopped making Sonic games and made other games, would they be still relevant? Because as we
one of the big issues that Capcom and Sega are having right now is they're afraid to try new things, and they're certainly afraid to create new products based off of their existing IPs. The best example I can give you is if you take a look at what happened to, I think it's Capcom, might be Sega, I'm drawing a blank, might be Konami for that matter. Whatever company makes Devil May Cry.
Oh, it's Capcom. Yeah, it's
Capcom. Yeah. Capcom went, you know what? The Devil May Cry series had a middle, beginning, and an end. It's over. It's done. Let's do a new one. Let's do an essential remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? People hated it. There's nothing wrong with DMC. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that game.
Oh yeah. That game was great. That game was awesome.
Yeah. But what happened? People hated it for one stupid fucking reason.
Because Dante wasn't Dante.
Because of the nostalgia that I'm talking about.
I will say though, it is a bit weird playing a Devil May Cry game and for a series for so long, and then having a different character, a different look of, a different kind of style to the game than what normally a lot of people are used to.
I'm gonna address Hutch real quick. Just because they're coming out with a new 3D title, Hutch, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a regression, or that it's not a regression. Going back to classic graphics is regressing. That's not a bad thing. That's just what it is. I'm not saying that that Sega company or whatever the company that made it, making this game and going back to the classic is a bad thing, but that's what it is. It is regressing.
Graphically.
Sure, graphically, gameplay wise, whatever you want to call it, it is technically a regress. It's if you take a step backwards, you're not going forward, right? So I'm not saying that it's not going to be a fun product. I'm not saying that your nostalgia doesn't deserve it. What I'm saying is that it is a regression. And my only issue with it, in regards of it being a regression, is that if it sells well, if Sonic Mania sells really, really well, Sega might not want to make 3D products for Sonic anymore. They might not want to try with that anymore. Is my point.
Yeah. And if
And
that
I would like to, like, I'm glad they're making the 3D Sonic. Yes, there are. By the way, in that conference, I don't know, we haven't really touched on it. They did show what kind of looks like maybe a Generation 2.
Yeah.
And I've said this 100 times. Like Colors and Generations are great Sonic.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're awesome.
But I think that both of those games kind of get a lot of flack for the same reasons that other 3D Sonic games have gotten flack for, and that's unfortunate because nostalgia is my point. Is the whole point I'm getting at.
Well, and on top of that, like every other 3D Sonic game has came out has reviewed pretty badly and has not had a good word of mouth with gamers either. So yeah, it has a history of it for sure. I think I'm interested to see what happens. I think that Sonic Mania is the main game that everybody's looking forward to, especially me. Because like I was kind of watching this, like, seeing everything that they were showing off, and it looks good. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually pretty excited for a Sonic game outside of Generations.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Hutch and Brian are very excited for Mania. A lot of people are very excited for Mania because that's the Sonic they grew up with, and I think that their nostalgia is really showing that they're excited for it. Just the fan base in general seems very stoked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll play it. I think Mania is actually going to be a good Sonic game that will be refreshing that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yep.
But like, I think that like if we talk about Mega Man, for example, is the next Mega Man game we get gonna look like a Super Nintendo game? Is it going to look like or is it going to look like a modern game? Is it going to look with revamped graphics? Is it going to be like what could we get if we got a new Mega Man game?
And I would answer that to say, like, I think the most recent example would be its classic form, because the last Mega Man game we ever had per se was.
Before you continue, Hutch, if they don't continue, like if the 2D game does way fucking better than the 3D one, you're gonna sit there and tell me that you don't see them moving away from doing 3D entirely. Like, let's say, for example, the 2D game sells 5 times better than the 3D one.
As Greg is reading the chat, just to kind of for those who are watching at home or on YouTube, he responds, they've been making 2D Sonic games for years, mainly on the portable systems, granted, but I can't see them making more 2D entries and 3D entries.
Well, this isn't just 2D. This isn't the 2D games you're referring to, Hutch, are still they have a 3D graphical sense to them. They're not 16-bit is what I'm getting at. A 16-bit Sonic, which is what Mania is just it's a hearkening to the past.
Yeah.
And and in my mind, if it plays well, because I remember when they came out with Sonic 4, which is the 2D side scrolling, or the 3D side scrolling is what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
And people were very, very, very fucking excited for it, and then it came out, and of course it was just garbage. If this game plays like it's supposed to, like a classic Sonic game, I see it doing better in terms of sales than whatever 3D Sonic game they have coming out next. I really, really do.
Agreed. I think that, especially in this day and age, with the kind of slew of like 2D side scrollers that have come out of the indie scene, and some of the success.
The sale, that doesn't matter, Hutch. It doesn't matter if the 2D game is $20 and the 3D game is. Sorry, he said, I don't think that the proper comparison because the pricing to the 2D is going to be lower and sales can skew that as well. That idea doesn't matter when you just talk about number of sales. If they could make a 2D game that had enough content to qualify for $60 pricing, then they're going to do that. if the 2D game sells, not in terms of money, but just in in quantity sold, more, like 5 to 10 times more than the 3D version, they're not going to put the effort into making 3D games anymore.
Yeah,
And if they do, then I mean, then again, Sega's surprised me in the past with a lot of shit. So
that's
I mean,
true
I
too.
could be absolutely wrong on this.
That's very true. No, I agree with Greg. Like, I think that if this game, it doesn't matter the price point. The game could sell at $20 versus the $60 version of Generations 2, if that's the game per se. And if it outsells the Generations one, they have more of an incentive to make more those type of games. And even if it's an equal footing at $60, like right now, there's more hype for Sonic Mania than there is for the Generations 2 game that was shown at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Exactly.
But we won't know that for sure until the game comes out. But I've been hearing a lot of good buzz about Sonic Mania as of right now, and there's still a lot.
I would just like I told Brian when I was there, and I don't think I've actually said this to Hutch either, but I would really fucking love to see a good 3D Sonic game. That's not Generations or what Colors was. Like I sincerely wish that Sonic 06 had a longer development cycle.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Sonic 06 could have been a great game. But because it just wasn't finished. Like, plain and simple, the game just wasn't finished.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what ultimately sucked about it. It's my thing is that the Sonic fan base, and this is my big thing. It's always been my thing about Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic's fan base is so big and so strong. These people adore their mascot.
They do.
Hutch, tell me in the chat if you don't fucking love Sonic, because that would be, I mean, how much you love Sonic, not that you don't love Sonic. I don't always say that.
Yeah, and in comparison, there's other, big, like Sonic the fan base is still pretty hardcore when it comes to Sonic. Also, I like to mention there are other, honestly, fan bases that are kind of the same way with their games. Shenmue 2 or Shenmue 3, like those fans are like ridiculous on their game as well.
You're absolutely correct, Hutch. It's way too early to be comparing them, and it's way too early to be comparing them. But two things: we're doing a podcast, so I gotta fucking fill time. Secondly, it's I'm only comparing in terms of like what Anthony said a second ago, and that's the hype for Mania is 1,000 times higher than this unnamed 3D Sonic game that's very clearly, in my mind, going to be Sonic Generations 2.
Yeah, agreed.
The hype is just so much higher. Like, you go to Reddit and you type in Sonic, and there's not very much about this new Sonic 3D game. It's all about Sonic Mania.
Yeah, and it's not the fault of their own. It's just well, actually, it is. But like there isn't much information about.
It comes down to the fact that, like, Adventure 1 and 2 were actually very successful games. Very successful. But they didn't age well. You try to go back and play Adventure 2, and they're very difficult and hard and clunky to play. Sure, back in the day, they were great. I remember playing both when I had my Dreamcast, and I played the shit out of both of them.
Yeah.
I think I beat the game a couple times on Adventure 1. But when I was at North Carolina, when I was at Hutch's house, I had the opportunity to play 1 and 2, and ugh. However, the Genesis games, and Sonic CD, by the way, Sonic CD is great. If you haven't played Sonic CD, that's probably one of my favorite Sonic games.
Mm-hmm.
But those games play very well because they stuck to a specific play style. They stuck to what Sonic does best. And to a point. Unfortunately, I feel that Sonic Adventure deviated from that a little bit, not too much though, but it definitely I want to say there was because that's right, the Saturn just had Sonic R.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sonic 06 was a disaster. And then after Sonic 06, we just didn't see very many good, like Sonic. From what I'm gathering, what the point that I'm getting at is I've seen Sonic do better in a 2D setting than not a 2D setting.
Agreed.
I love Sonic Rush, or at least I remember loving Sonic Rush, which was was on the DS.
Yeah.
And that's exactly my problem, Hutch. Is that Mania does play to nostalgia, but so did Sonic 4. I think just about any time now Sonic comes out, it's playing to nostalgia.
For those who are watching, he says that Mania plays to nostalgia, which is why it's getting more hype. But since we literally only have a CG trailer, not even a game name, there won't be much hype on that one. There will be more when they actually show a gameplay trailer, which is true. We like.
Right.
I think the difference is like if, and I'll end this point because we've got other stories to talk about. If Sega showed Sonic Mania, let's just say was like that for that first part of the trailer, and then just the logo, and then just the mascot, Sega with doing a spin thing and no gameplay footage, versus what they show, if they only showed that, I don't think there'd be much hype about the game. It would look cool, but like if there was nothing to show per se, then
I also personally feel that even when they do show the trailer for the new Sonic 3D game, the hype will be lower than Sonic Mania.
Agreed.
I really do feel that way.
The funny thing
This has nothing to do with like Sonic hype in the past. This has everything to do with the experience that I've seen on the internet with people and nostalgia. It has everything to do with that alone.
The funny thing I like to point out is like I like that Sega overshadowed Sonic, supposedly Sonic Generations 2 with Sonic Mania. They overshadowed their own game with Sonic Mania. And yeah, time will tell. We'll find out more. When we see the new gameplay trailer for Sonic Generations, we'll have probably thoughts on that when it comes out. But I am more or less right now, people are a lot more hype, a lot more excited for Sonic Mania than any Sonic game in any prior past right now. But we can go on for hours and hours about Sonic. But we need to.
I made my point. Like I said, I was continuing the conversation because we're doing a podcast, and you said there's not a whole lot of news today. So.
Yes, agreed. But we do need to talk about other stuff. We need to talk about other stuff around the news. This is not the Sonic podcast. As Sega, if you're listening, what's up? The first half hour is dedicated to you, Sega. There were other things that happened in the past week. I think since we're on the nostalgia boner right now, we're talking about the Pokemon Go updates that recently was, I think it was today was they put out the news about it.
You weren't wrong about fucking talking about nostalgia on this one.
So first off, I want to go off is that the accessory that the thing you can attach like looks like a mini Google icon you look on Google Maps for. The Pokemon Go Plus accessory will now be released in December 2016 instead of the original expected date of end of July launch, which for those who don't know is basically like a little kind of clip-on you wear around, and it will indicate if a Pokemon's nearby, and you can push on the button on it to kind of auto try and capture the Pokemon. It also will let you know if any Pokestops are nearby or gyms. And I believe, and it's Bluetooth, so I don't believe you don't need your Pokemon Go to be on. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but the updates that people have up in arms about. And here I got the change log right here. So, avatars can now be recustomized from a trainer profile screen. Adjusted battle move damages values for some Pokemon, refine certain gym animations, improve memory losses, remove footprint of nearby Pokemon, we'll talk about that in a minute, modify battle damage calculation, various bug fixes during wild Pokemon encounter, updated Pokemon detail screen, updated achievement medal images, fix issues with displaying certain map features, and minor text fixes. Also, the removal of battery saver mode from the iOS version and favoriting a Pokemon prevents transferring. So, they went in and changed some stuff. I think the one thing that has everybody up in arms is the tracking system has been removed. and people are pretty upset about that because now instead of able to see which Pokemon are nearby, just kind of seeing the grass fly over, just everywhere. Now it's you gotta have to walk around, and then like if a Pokemon pops up, like it will appear, and you no longer have to, you know, go and look for it. And I think the reason why too is because there've been so many reports of like people trying to catch Pokemon but not paying attention, that they, at least from what I'm guessing, is that they removed it because of complaints about it. You know, we hear stories about around or whatnot.
Yeah, like that's exactly what it is. They removed the footprints because they weren't working, and they're trying to fix it, and people are constantly tweeting them about it. So they were like, well, if we remove it, you know, maybe we can fix it before putting it back up. And I totally get why they would do that, but at the same time, not announcing that's the reason why, or not telling, like, let me give you an example. When fucking Overwatch does an update and they change a character, they go editor note or, you know, developer note, like, here's why we did it, because here's what we saw. And Niantic's not doing that. They're just like, we're doing it. If they had come out with like a, hey, we're removing it because we're trying to fix it and it's actually a lot more difficult to keep it on there and not fix it, like, that would have been fine, but they're not doing that. So it just looks like they straight up removed it.
The other thing I want to add to it as well is like they also they're adding in a feature or adding in a program to where you can opt out of certain locations being Pokestops. Because of right now, you can set certain places and certain buildings as Pokestops. But some buildings does not want to have itself associated with the game, a la the White House, police stations, like, and having people just go in just to get Pokemon or for a Pokestop.
Well, I think on that exact same note, they I don't think that the White House necessarily gives a shit, because people aren't going into the White House. Like, that's the thing about this game that I think a lot of people didn't get right off the bat, is that you don't have to actually enter buildings to find the Pokemon.
Right.
You just have to be in a vicinity. It has 100 feet radius, I think, around your character. I could be wrong about that distance, but I believe that's what it is. And
I mean, the thing about it with the gyms wise, because the White House is a gym, like you have to be in a close enough distance and able to interact with the gym.
I know for a fact that you can access the White House gym by being in front of the gate.
Okay. Maybe it's in a closer facility than I thought. Maybe. But yeah, those updates did go up as of today. So if you download the new update for Pokemon Go, those are gonna happen. And for those who don't update, that your tracking system will still be intact. I have
the tracking system doesn't work anyway. So it's not like they got rid of the tracking system for the sake of getting rid of the tracking system. They got rid of it because it doesn't work.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you update or not. You don't have a tracking system.
And there's also, you know, the GPS system in the game is not quite as good either, or could be as better. I remember reading stories where people were like, we'll be sitting down and quote unquote walking, but realistically it's just the GPS on the phone just going nuts and getting just like mileage for your eggs without even moving an inch. So there's definitely issues with the game that needs to be addressed and fixed, and I'm pretty sure the company knows that. Now the question is like whether this would impede on the momentum of the game and how successful it has been socially and financially. I don't think it will. Maybe in the short term you might see a drop in sales, but I think that it's still rocking pretty hard in terms of like, you know, the what has developed in the past week or two. And there's still Pokemon crawls. I still see those on, you know, every so often on my Facebook, on Twitter, people doing like massive like events for the game. So I don't think it's gonna hurt too much. I think that anything towards what they're trying to get to, especially with the updates coming up of like able to trade and, you know, find other Pokemon trainers, you know, living that dream.
Yeah, once they add in more generations, add in like features that people want, it'll spike back up in popularity. I think an interesting factor into what Pokemon Go has done is this is definitely going to breed a lot more AR games.
Yes, agreed. If anything, this has definitely caught a lot of attention for people who want to make AR games, and this is a prime example of that. And there were some others I was gonna bring up for a story, but like as I mean, this isn't Nintendo who officially made the game, but if there's any indication, because like they did say they want to go into the mobile market, they said that they announced, I want to say about a year ago more so, that they're diving into the mobile gaming market with their Nintendo products and seeing how that goes. And if any indication, if Pokemon Go is a strong indication that mobile is, if it done right, can be very, very popular. The other two games they plan to put out soonish, or whenever it's gonna come out for mobile, what was it? It was gonna be oh man, I forgot the game name. Animal Crossing. Yeah, Animal Crossing, and it was that, and oh man, was it something Fates? God, I'm horrible with the name. It's the other popular Nintendo license right now. Anyways, but yeah, and point being that this is a strong indication. I think Nintendo. Oh, well, that was weird. My screen just freaked out for a second there. Anyways, but yeah, basically Nintendo is looking into mobile platform, and this is a strong indication. If done right, they can make tons and tons of money and be very successful. Yeah. So, all right, so this one I'm gonna take up a bit just because like this was a game. Okay, so I would say, let me go back in time. There was originally a StarCraft fan MMO that was in the works for a while. I'd assumed it was C Indeed, and that was it. Apparently, this game was still in development for a while, and it launched a Kickstarter not too long ago, and recently showed off a trailer and a gameplay trailer of the game, which basically is just World of Warcraft with StarCraft skin on top of it, but it adds a lot more features, including you can fight enemies on your ship, you can defend your ship in space battles, you can pilot vehicles, pretty much anything you can do in StarCraft you can do in this MMO. Apparently they've been in the works for a very long time. Not to mention that trailer they showed up was ridiculously good. We're talking like Blizzard-like graphic detail. It's crazy. So my surprise, the fact that I saw these trailers and the notion that Blizzard gave their blessings to this game for its fan-made game, and this is a game that's been developed by a couple of people, and it's crazy how they created this MMO with the StarCraft IP, and it looks freaking good. Like holy crap! Like I kind of wonder how long it really took them to make this far. So like I thought this game was dead. Apparently it's alive, and this game looks really good. And they have an Indiegogo that went up today, or actually I'll put it on Friday. I will get that information for you guys in a minute for those who are watching or listening. But yeah, yeah, it's crazy. StarCraft MMO. So if you ever want to play StarCraft MMO, well, you're going to get it eventually. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there real quick. Not sure if you're knowledge of the MMO StarCraft, Greg, but
I think it was bound to happen. It's how do I say this? It's World of Warcraft's such a popular thing that a StarCraft MMO was kind of inevitable. But my question is that StarCraft, from what I understand, is like on multiple planets or different planets.
Yeah.
So like, will that be a factor? Because that'd be really cool if I could travel from planet to planet.
Actually, you can. In the gameplay trailer, it shows that you can travel from planet to planet and visit other planets.
Cool. I don't know that I'll play because that's another thing is that I don't really like MMOs. But I imagine that people who really enjoy StarCraft, enjoyed World of Warcraft, will probably be fucking just their pants will be wet.
Yes. And I agree. Like I don't play MMOs per se. I mean, I can technically say like Pokemon Go is an MMO and I play that, but the thing that I'm kind of curious about, which would be funny if it happens, like what if like this StarCraft MMO takes over WoW and it's become the most played MMO more than WoW is right now. Which would be funny, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens either. So going from the StarCraft MMO fan-made game to another game that was, I would say this game has a lot of hype, like Sonic, but it was the fault of their own and the promotion and everything, and just kind of building the hype for it. And I'm talking about No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, who was recently went to gold, which means that the game is pretty much complete and ready for shipping. And the game will soon come out very soon on PC and other platforms. I believe PS4 as well. I'm not sure there's an Xbox One version.
Yeah. There's no Xbox One version. It's PS4 and PC only.
Yes. So one of the things that was recently found out was like this guy. I'm gonna off of eBay, but he paid $2,000 for an early leak copy of No Man's Sky, and he got the copy. He posted some videos of the actual gameplay and other things, but recently it was taken down. But the more interesting thing about it is that this guy found because the whole goal of well, it isn't really the goal, but like it's something that the company been saying for a while. It's like the goal of the game is to get into the center of the universe. What exactly is the center of the universe? We don't know. But apparently this guy found the center of the universe. Now, for those who are listening or watching, plug your ears. I guess we're in spoiler territory for a game that has not come out. And it's on the Reddit forum, but basically I'll read the last thing. So, referring to my previous edit and the Galaxy Universe conclusion, he was asked, "Did you make it to the center of the galaxy or the universe?" His answer: "There's no such thing as a universe in the game. What you see representing the center is the galaxy." Have you reached what Sean has talked about, or is there more center in the game? He's talking about with another person on Reddit about the center of the universe theory, and then it goes on to a long discussion. But the point that bumped him out was like, it's complicated. Basically, ships are 100% cosmetic for the most part. There's no such thing as one ship being combat oriented and another being trade oriented. All ships can do all things. You can slot them up however you want. It's dirt simple. So basically, like, the center of the universe is, there's no center of the universe. It's just a universe. What's interesting for me and kind of seeing just like the hype build up for the game, just like I've seen people even say like, I'm gonna quit games altogether, just play this one game, because it's literally just exploration space, the game. And people from the response from this guy's findings are not happy. they're like, they were expecting something bigger than that, and is it a fault of their own? Not really, because the company was like kind of saying like, get the center of the universe. We don't know what's in the center of the universe, and maybe some cool thing or whatever. Trying to make it very mysterious, and it ends up to being where like there's nothing there. And maybe they patch it later on, something like unannounced. But like right now, there's really nothing. But at the same time, this game is very interesting in the fact that it's not your typical game. It's very open, open world. Like, you are exploring the universe, going to planets, mining. You can make guns and become a battleship. You could be. It reminds me a lot of the other big MMO game that is still prevalent today. That, which is, it has a crazy amount of people on it. There's like actual pirating and people like hiring bodyguards to protect their ships. I cannot remember the life of me the name of it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a huge game that still is prevalent today. There's a lot of mining, pirating, and all that good stuff happening. Oh man, I forgot. I forgot the name of it. Anyways, basically saying that, I think I'm curious to see what's gonna happen, but honestly, I'm kind of sitting back with popcorn ready in hand. It's like, is this going to be a game where people are going to be pretty excited for and like be...
Everything that I've ever seen or read about this game is it's essentially like space Minecraft.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's... It's... Yeah. I can't say much more about it other than the fact that like I'm very curious to see what everybody else's response is. I think one of the things I read that was kind of interesting that... which may end up being the same thing, was that there had been games like this that were built up and like had promised features or had like this idea of what exactly is going to happen in this massive universe, but it turns out not to be as big as hype as it was. And there was examples you were pointing out like Destiny, or like what was it?
Mass Effect.
Well, not Mass Effect.
Well, it sounds very similar to Mass Effect for me, just because a lot of people with Mass Effect were very much they were angry that what they were quote unquote promised didn't come true.
Yeah.
And I say that in regards to what they were promised was like at least what they feel they were promised was this overarching storyline in game where you are like every decision you make fully matters, and I mean, you could say the same thing about like fucking anything that is it Peter Molyneux that I'm thinking of?
Oh yeah, for
Table games.
Yeah. But that's pure Molyneux's fault, man. Like he hyped up this game, and then like some of the features were not even the game because of what he said. So.
Well, and that's why I tell people all the time, like, yes, listen to the developers, listen to what they're saying that they want to get across to you, but at the same time, take it with a grain of salt. Don't get too attached to what they're saying, because 9 times out of 10, they're wrong.
Yeah.
And or not wrong, but they're overselling a game that they're overselling a game that they are how do I say this? They're trying to. It's not that they're trying to they're not trying to sell the game, because like from again, what No Man's Sky looks like to me, what it's always looked like to me, is space Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like something more than that. It doesn't look like it's gonna have a story. It doesn't look like it's gonna have anything more than just going from planet to planet and gaining materials. Now, the reason for gaining those materials, I haven't read, I haven't seen, I have no idea. But if you were going into No Man's Sky thinking that it was going to have this big, epic story, then that's on you. Not the developer, not some fucking media outlet. That's on you, because you weren't paying attention.
Right. And in the game, I just realized it was comparing it to earlier. Was EVE Online. It reminds me a lot of EVE Online and how that. I mean, it's still pretty relevant today. There's still a lot of people who play that game, but like, it's definitely a game where I feel like if there was a comparison between any game for No Man's Sky, it would be EVE Online, because it has kind of this very similarities between those two. There are some differences, but like same idea. Yeah, and I think that the game comes out pretty soon. It's gonna sell a butt ton on launch day. Now, how long it can last afterwards is up to the company and how much they can support the game with its system, or with its game content.
I mean, like I said, I'm defending the game here. I think it's going to be a fun game for people who want to play it. I don't have the opportunity, so I can't really play it. I don't have a PS4 or a good enough PC to play that. I barely fucking play Tabletop Simulator. But like my big thing is, I'm excited to see. Like, I know that one of the streamers on Heat, Chris Krieger, he'll be streaming on his own channel. Brian and possibly Hutch will be playing it on their channel, or on Heat for that matter. I'm very excited to see the game being played, but like I said, I'm as surprised as you sound to be by people going, well, I thought it was gonna have an epic story.
Yeah.
Because not once to me did I ever gather that.
Yeah, nor did I.
I saw the first like announcement trailer at that awkward Game Awards that Bill McHale was hosting.
Yeah.
I saw like multiple things of footage of it. I saw it at E3 a couple times. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it quite a bit, and I've listened to what the developers have said, and not once did I ever get that it was this big, epic story.
Nor did I. Nor did I. I don't think I got that as well. I think that what they conveyed was basically exploration and just kind of building and just kind of just going over the universe and just kind of seeing what space is.
I think I even talked to Brian about it, and Brian was just like, getting to explore a galaxy with planets that nobody else is going to get to see sounds amazing. And I'm like, I agree. It sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I didn't see there being any more to the game than that.
I kind of wonder if that was, well, the developer. I mean, obviously, if you're a developer of a game or a game company, like you don't want to give out everything. Just hints and teases what you can do in the game, and then have them kind of explore and find out later on, by themselves. So you can't really blame them per se. But it has definitely generated a lot of hype, and this game's been in the works for a very long time. Kickstarted or Indiegogo'd, and then since then it's been in development for a very long time for it to be completed. I'm not gonna doubt that the game's gonna sell very successfully in the first week. I would say it goes as far as the first 2 weeks. But beyond that, I'm kind of wondering what word of mouth's gonna be, what exactly is going to be the outcome, and just kind of what people are going to say afterwards, after a good while playing the game. Kind of the same thing we have other games that were kind of like that. Also, the other game I was thinking of, in terms of like games that are built up, and that was not to expectations, was the Division. That's the game I'm thinking of. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But
this is again why I tell people all the time, like, take everything you hear from developers with a grain of salt, because much like politicians, a lot of what they say is not going to be promised.
Agreed. Okay, so one last thing, and I mean, if I have time, maybe one other thing, but Dota 2 is a game that I don't play, but I recognize the fact that it has so much of a large following, and the esports aspect and just the way that they fund their tournaments is kind of cool. But I do want to bring up, let me do something real quick. Boom. I do want to bring up that Dota 2 International, which is going to be happening on August 8th to the 13th. And the way they do their prize pool is they put their own Valve puts their money in, but they also have this thing where they have in-game items that you can buy within Dota 2 that will support, not only you get this item, but you also support the international, the big tournament at the very end. Right now, it is the largest esports pot for the international Dota 2 Championship Series, which is going to be in Seattle. Seattle? Yeah, in Seattle this year. And the amount is $19,197,132 as of right now, and it is we got about another week to go, and they can get even higher. It is nuts and it's crazy, but it's brilliant in how they're raising this money and how people can help raise for these huge tournaments. So if you're in top 8 at the International Dota 2, you are guaranteed a crap ton of money with your team. So it's you cannot deny how much money this game is making, or like how much it's at. It's crazy amounts. But I will say is that for the scene of esports and for the scene of video games, like just having this huge a pot for this game and having international play with players coming from all the countries to play this game at in the US, it's crazy. Valve has done it right, and I saw that amount and just like, man, that is ridiculous. I'm wondering if it'll be on ESPN like it was on last year. And I'm
probably if it advertisers want to spend a lot of money on it, then yeah.
It's true. If it is, that'd be cool. I might watch it.
Like I said, every company looks at profit margins, and if they think that they can make a bigger buck off of something, they will.
Yep, agreed. But with about 5 minutes, I think I'll end the show from here. There was one other story I wanted to talk about, but it was pretty much a rumor about the Nintendo NX and exactly all the details that Eurogamer found out about that. But as
like I said, when they showed that weird controller not too long ago, and even when they were like, it's like part portable, part thing, blah blah, and I'm like, it's like, sure, we can speculate all we want, but I can also speculate when I'm gonna get sex next, so or I could just live my life and not worry about it.
Yep.
Until it actually happens.
Yep. The one thing I will say that was, and this is again rumors, but like it's supposed to be happening to be talked about or discussed more at the TGS Tokyo Game Show happening in September. Whether that's the case or not, we'll have to find out when that happens. But if it is the case, I am very excited for TGS this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think I didn't quite mention it when we talked about E3 stuff, but Nintendo is mostly done with E3. Like, they're there because they know that if they're not, it's a bad move. But they're not announcing shit at E3 anymore.
No, they're not. They're not.
They definitely showed that this year. They were like, yeah, we're just gonna show shit everyone knows already we have coming out.
Yep, definitely.
Go fuck yourself.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. So with that being said, Greg, where can I find you on the internet?
You can find me on Tumblr. Why do I say that every fucking time? God damn it. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under Chubrock Geek. You can follow me on Snapchat under Chubrock Snap. I'm very lazy about when I stream on my own channel, but sometimes there at Chubrock Geek on Twitch. And you can find me every Saturday night on Half Empty Energy Tank, twitch.tv/Half Empty Tank.
Awesome. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that me and Greg do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. If you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy listening to it on iTunes and Stitcher, which if you are, awesome, thank you. Or if you're watching it on our YouTube channel, check out Mission Start Podcast on our website at missionstartpodcast.com under the podcast section. Again, you can find it on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as on our Patreon page at patreon.com/missionstartpodcast. If you enjoy convention talk, if you enjoy us talking about our experiences at past convention events, kind of what our full thoughts on, say, like San Diego Comic-Con, which is coming up pretty soon, then check out The Conover, which is on iTunes and Stitcher as well as on patreon.com. And also, if you want to check it out on our website, it's at missionstartpodcast.com in the podcast section of the website. But if you enjoy comic books, if you enjoy movies, entertainment, HBO, a lot of just like just a wide range of nerdy ass stuff, check out the Rolling 20s, hosted by Jeremy Wilson on our website. He and the Rolling 20s crew just came back from covering San Diego Comic-Con, and they got a lot to talk about. So expect them on the Conover to talk about it, but expect some podcasts from their podcast as well on our website, as well as on iTunes and Stitcher and Patreon. So, with that being said, thank you guys. We will see you guys next week, and yeah, I got nothing else. Oh shit, I hit myself. My leg. What the hell did I do?
What happened?
I don't know. I just hit my leg, and then I just hurt. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see you guys next time.